Rwanda is beating the U.S. in gender equity. That is a headline from a recent news story in the Washington Post. Well, can that be true? Let's check the facts. That's coming up next on The Factual Feminist. The Global Gender Gap Report is a yearly study sponsored by the World Economic Forum. Now, this is a prestigious group that meets in Davos, Switzerland each year. It attracts more than 2,500 of the world's leading figures in business and politics. People like Bill Gates and German Chancellor Angela Merkel, they show up. So do celebrities like Bono and Mick Jagger and Angelina Jolie. The purpose of the gathering is admirable, to brainstorm on ways to make the world a better place. And one way the forum hopes to improve the world is to highlight what they call role models of gender equity around the world. Well, since 2006, the forum has produced yearly reports ranking the world's nations on gender equality in key areas such as economic opportunity, political empowerment, health and education. Well, the just released 2015 findings are typical of earlier reports. Rwanda, the Philippines, Nicaragua, they somehow get higher rankings than the United States, Canada, Denmark. Well, journalists, with few exceptions, have been electrified by the gender gap study. Many have praised it for showing just how backwards we really are in the United States. Well, the Factual Feminist has some concerns about the soundness of the gender gap study. The researchers are well-intentioned, but their study shows a lack of common sense. Now, this is strictly a study of gaps between the sexes. If men and women in nation X are equally illiterate, disenfranchised, and just as likely to die at an earlier age, that all but guarantees a high ranking. No gender gap, no problem. That isn't always true. Gaps favoring women, those are just fine. I mean, if women turn out to be better educated, more likely to vote, less vulnerable to violence, early death, those gaps can help a country in the rankings. Look at Russia. According to the Davos study, Russian women enjoy 11 more healthy years of life than men. Now, that's bad news for Russian men, but it's great for Russia's standing in the study's healthy life expectancy metric. A Davos report that honestly showed the burdens and benefits of men and women around the world, that would be far more useful than this quirky, one-sided study. Now, look at this 2004 chart from the World Health Organization. It shows that men throughout the world are at vastly higher risk of injury and violence. Gender gaps are complicated, but the World Economic Forum disguises that. It gives an oversimplified and distorted picture of what's really going on. There are other troubling features in this study. It doesn't distinguish between societies that are dictatorships and free, and it greatly rewards countries that use gender quotas in allocating political positions. And countries that combine dictators and gender quotas, Cuba, Rwanda, Burundi, they're almost guaranteed to be given role model status in the category of political empowerment. Well, again, this is misleading. Rwanda's 2003 constitution establishes gender quotas for its lower parliament, and women now occupy about 64% of the seats. But that same constitution gives the current president close to absolute power, including the right to dissolve the parliament. The human rights watchdog group Freedom House gives Rwanda failing grades where political rights are concerned. In Mozambique and Burundi, almost everyone, male and female, is in the full-time labor force. Now, that improves their Davos ranking, but is it really a sign of progress, opportunity, or even true equality? These countries are not bastions of gender equity. They're desperately poor, and nearly everybody is forced to work, men and women, and often children too. In wealthy countries like the US and Germany, lots of mothers and some fathers choose to work part-time or leave the workforce when they have children, but that creates gaps. And those gaps, they penalize the United States and Germany on the Davos metrics. Now, this brings me to another serious objection. The study promotes the idea that statistical parity between the sexes is synonymous with justice and well-being. But is that always true? There's a serious body of psychological literature that suggests that as countries get richer and freer, the sexes become less alike. In an earlier Factual Feminist video, I described a study where researchers looked at gender and personality norms in 55 countries. Now, throughout the world, women tend to be more nurturing, risk-averse, and emotionally expressive, while men are more likely to be competitive, risk-taking, and stoical. But the researchers found The personality differences between men and women are the largest and most robust in the more prosperous and advanced industrial societies, like the US and Canada, France, Germany, and so on. How can that be? Well, the authors theorize that prosperity, equality, these bring greater opportunities for self-actualization. Men and women are empowered to be who they truly are. Now, this cross-cultural research, it's far from conclusive, but it's intriguing. And if you think about it, it explains quite a lot. I was recently looking at an Atlantic article about how women are faring in tech. And the author was surprised that Mexico and Turkey have far more women who are coders than those in progressive countries like Belgium and Switzerland. In those countries, women are more likely to go into health, education, humanities. Well, maybe that's because women in wealthy countries have the freedom and opportunity to be whatever they want to be. Well, I urge the World Economic Forum to consider this tantalizing possibility. Gender gaps are not necessarily indicators of injustice or discrimination. In countries like the United States and Norway, they may be evidence of freedom and happiness. My verdict: this report is misleading and confusing. It's unlikely to do much to advance gender equality or well-being in the world, but it may serve one important purpose. It tells us a lot about the sorry state of gender equity research. Well, what do you think of the World Economic Forum gender equity study? Do you agree that it suffers from a common sense deficit? Am I missing something here? Let me know in the comments, and I hope you follow me on Facebook, Twitter, subscribe to the series, and thank you for watching The Factual Feminist.